What is up, everybody? Welcome back. Welcome back to the Seoulweaver show. I'm a little rusty already, you can tell. Will Brooks here. I'm your host, as always, and I'm coming to you from right smack dab in the middle of Seoul with yet another episode of the Seoulweaver show. Seoulweaver show's been on hiatus for a couple of weeks. I've been out of country and I've been on vacation, and I want to apologize because I didn't quite get the show. I didn't quite give you guys much of a heads up about that. The thing is, most of the people who watch the show know me personally, and some of you, in fact, advised me on my trip. And it felt like I had this feeling like everybody knew what was going on. If you followed me on social media, you know where I was, and so on and so forth. But there may be some onesies and twosies out there that didn't quite know what the deal was, and I apologize for that. To be completely honest, there are a couple of reasons why I didn't really put the information out there actually here on the channel. For one, it was a trip out of country that kind of just took place. It didn't really materialize until it happened. I'll get into that in a little bit. But I wasn't even really sure I was going until like 2 days. I wasn't sure. I thought like just getting on the plane, I would be like, well, you know, something would happen at the last minute and I wouldn't be able to get on because that just kind of stuff just tends to happen to me. And I didn't count it as we're going until I was like in the air. And so the backdrop, you know, that's a great way to make sure you don't get disappointed by, you know, when Murphy's Law strikes. It's Murphy's Law, right? Yeah. But it's also a bad way to handle things if you want to kind of plan things out, because since in the back of your head the trip or the event is never really going to happen until it actually happens, there's still just balls to be dropped that are being dropped while you're not effectively planning for the trip. And that's kind of what happened to me, especially with the show. And so there were plans. I had a few different different courses of actions that I wanted to take. I wanted to record one of the episodes in advance, and I got all that ready and kind of dropped the ball on that because I just couldn't get the house. There was such an uproar before leaving that I couldn't get the house quiet enough to sit there and record before I left. And then there were plans to do some recordings there. I didn't know when I went to Bohol in the Philippines, small island in the Philippines, and there were plans to record while I was there and just do the show there. So I wasn't really that worried about like giving people a heads up. And that fell through because the internet access that I had while I was there was atrocious. Or maybe it wasn't even that bad. It was just bad compared to what I'm used to. I'm not sure. I still haven't landed on which of the two it was. Either internet in Korea, wireless in Korea, is just really, really good, which it is, or the internet in whole was just really, really antiquated, maybe I want to say. I don't know, they were using 3G there. That's 3G is what I had access to on my phone, and even in the resort in which we stayed, the internet service was just sluggish, and I mean, you couldn't even watch a YouTube video like that. So recording one and uploading one wasn't going to happen. Then I had things fall through on my camera. Man, I took my camera, and I'm so used to having the plug-in battery here that I didn't like. For some reason, my actual battery to my camera is a new mistake, but my battery to my camera was actually left here at the house. So I had my DSLR with me the whole time and couldn't take any really good pictures, which I guess is fine because an iPhone these days really does the trick as far as capturing things. I'll go ahead and put that stuff together and share with you in a few over social media, over on the Seoulweaver's Facebook group, I think, because I don't want to put it on the Facebook page, the Seoulweaver's Facebook page, because that's supposed to be like career related. But here's the thing. The reason what I wanted to talk to you guys about today, and I apologize, you'll notice that the format is off a little bit today. Like, you don't have all the details of what I'm going to cover today, because I am not going to have time for the actual show today. I kind of just want to jump on and give you guys a heads up. You're probably going to hear my Kakao message go off in just a second, because Uni just hit me up on Kakao. The wife and kid are out in the cold. The kids sleep, and they need me to come get them. And I'm starting the show late. I'm not going to be able to actually finish out the show, even though it's all planned out. So what I'll do, maybe I'll do a late show tonight. Like, I'll go pick them up. I'll come back and I'll jump on and do the show. It's the least I can do for you guys. So the show will go late into the night. I'm on vacation, so I don't care how late the show goes, to be completely honest. But I did want to kind of jump on and talk to you guys a little bit about the trip I had. So for starters, I want to start with why the trip was important to me. At some point in time, we were looking at the funding, at the amount that the trip was going to cost. It was more expensive than we thought it was going to be, because we always hear that it's a pretty decent priced trip to go, like, to the Philippines or to other areas. And that's basically, that's kind of what I'm going to get around to, is that while you're here in Asia, in Korea, one of the great things about being in Korea is that as far as Asia goes for travel, you're kind of centrally located to you're in pretty close proximity to a lot of places. We went to Bohol in the Philippines. That's a 4-hour flight. And while you're here, if you're going to be here temporarily, one of the things you want to do, or that is recommended that you do while you're here, is do quite a bit of traveling to other parts of Asia. And there are a lot of things within like a 4-hour flight here, or less than a 10-hour flight here, which is nothing if you're like us, used to taking, a 12 to 15-hour flight to get home. Maybe a 10-hour flight is still 10 hours, but a 4-hour flight, you can do it like that. My son wasn't even fazed by a 4-hour flight, and he's 7 years old. And there's just a lot in between. There's a lot in that 4-hour radius, maybe 5-hour radius. And you can go to Hong Kong, you can go to different parts of Thailand, you can go to different parts of the Philippines, you can go to Malaysia, Vietnam, Malaysia. And there's just, did I just say that? Vietnam, Cambodia. And you can just go to a lot of different places, and you can go up north to different parts of China, Beijing, and there's just so many places to travel, not to mention Japan. And I think some people are going to Guam at this time of year. That may be a little bit further, but there's just a lot of places you can get to that are a pretty decent flight, not too long, and a nice little getaway for you and your family. And so that's what we did. Now, the reason it was such a big deal, I mentioned that the cost started to get a little high for us, and we were like, do we really want to spend this much money? Even though I know it's a great opportunity to do a lot of traveling, and I've known it since I've gotten here, I've never done it. I've been to Japan twice, and they're both like layovers en route to going back to the States. And I never even got a chance to even travel to Japan and just experience Japan. It's just never happened. It's never I have never lined up the stars just right. And I say I have never lined up the stars just right because it really just is a failure on my part to go out and kind of be proactive in trying to get out there and go to other parts of Asia. So when we started to fudge a little bit, when we started to look at the cost, because the cost leap up for us for a few different reasons, but and we started to fudge a little bit because we were looking at the cost. I said, like, screw it, man. No, money is no object. We are going because I haven't gone in 15 years to any other parts of Asia. So I don't care how much it costs. Just make it happen. I told the wife, just don't even think about the money. Now, I don't know if she paid any attention to that, but yeah, we just ended up going. So we planned the trip and we said we're just gonna go. We don't care how much it costs. And it wasn't terribly expensive. Now, the reason the price gets high for us is because we are going to travel with my son and my mother-in-law. So instead of, I mean, we're some couples, we've seen a lot of couples out there, and a lot of Korean couples, a lot of foreign couples do a lot of traveling here in Asia. And they actually can probably travel pretty cheap. And if you're here on your own, or you want to go with a buddy of yours or something like that, a close friend of yours, just because you don't want to go by yourself, you can go for decent prices. Like you can, you're just gonna be paying for like the two of you to eat every time you eat. You're just gonna be paying for, or maybe you're gonna be going Dutch every time you eat, or you don't have that high of a standard for where you sleep because you're gonna be out on your feet everywhere anyway, or you're gonna be out on your feet most of the day anyway that you're there, and so on and so on and so forth. We had it a little bit differently because it was basically, one income footing the bill for 4 people. And not that I mind, of course, it's my family. I'm gonna, of course, take them with me. And I would love the opportunity to take my mother-in-law to different places within Asia, different places, just so she has new experiences. It's great. She had a great time. I wish I could take my mom with me. I wish she was physically located here so we can just throw in the back of the car, just like my mother-in-law, and then go all together. But that's not the case, and that kind of sucks. But multiplying everything by 4 made the prices go up. It made the prices get pretty steep. I mean, if it was just me by myself, I probably would have dropped $1,000 on that whole trip, and I was there for like 6 days. But it got a little more expensive with more people. And so my recommendation, if you're here by yourself, like if I could go back and talk to the old me and say, like, hey, do this while you can, because do it while you're single and it's cheap and you can get those experiences, get those memories, because it's not going to be as easy to do. It's just not logistically, just financially, it's not as easy to do with a family of 4 on an income of 1. Really is what the deal is. But it turned out to be a great trip. We stayed again in Bohol, is a province in the Philippines, like 2 islands there. There's Darwin. I'm saying it wrong. I can't believe it. But Dawis, and God, man, I was doing so much stuff before this, like getting ready for the show. I forgot what all the islands were. But it's basically 2 islands right there, and like one is the big island where Tagbilaran, the city of Tagbilaran is, and that's like the bigger island in that little province of Bohol. And then the other one is Dawis, is the smaller island. You just go across a small bridge, and you're on this basically this jungle island, and surrounded by obviously water. Explaining what an island is, but yeah, you're with all these beaches and things like that. And it wasn't like Bohol made me feel like it's Hawaii before Hawaii became Hawaii. Like it feels like it's Hawaii like in the 50s when people first discovered it and said it, identified it or realized it was an island paradise. That's kind of what Bohol was, pretty much. Still a little primitive. People still recovering from a huge earthquake that took place there in 2014. They're still rebuilding houses, rebuilding buildings, rebuilding chapels and things like that. But it was a great experience, and I am so happy I got a chance to go. And I had such a good time. We stayed at Bohol Shores. It was a resort down there. Mad comfortable, just very, very clean, which was another big part of what my wife wanted. She needed to stay in a clean place because like it had to have like, I don't know, 3-star, 4-star hotel rating standards type situations, not a place where you're just gonna throw your bags there and just crash there and you don't have to worry about spending that much time there, because we chilled for 6 days in Bohol. So a plan that started off as we're gonna go hit Cebu for 2 days or 3 days and 2 nights, then take a ferry to Bohol and stay there for 2 nights and 3 days. We spent them all in Bohol, and it turned out to be pretty great because we just, instead of us being cramped, again, we have a 70-year-old woman with us and a 7-year-old boy with us, so traveling and trying to do something every day all day just wasn't going to be part of the options. But we did. So what we did, we planned out our actual stay. It was a little bit tricky because I personally caused a lot of trouble because I didn't have my passport. I lost my passport. I don't know how. Don't ask me. Don't ask me where I lost it. I hate it when people ask you that, because if I knew where I lost it, I would just go there and get it. But somehow, I don't know what happened in transition while I was getting my Korean license. I lost my passport. So I had to get that, was able to get that in less than 2 weeks. But while I was trying to get the passport, we couldn't purchase any tickets from the site or from the bundle that my wife was trying to get, because I needed my passport number to get that bundle. So she had to purchase hers, my son's, and my mother-in-law's tickets separately. I had to purchase my tickets from over here. And luckily there's only one flight that flies straight into Tagbilaran, and we happened to get on the same, or we were able to get on the same plane, even though we purchased our tickets from separate locations. But since I didn't have my passport, I caused so much trouble leading up to it that we didn't know we were going to go. We weren't for sure if we were going to go. And by the time we got the green light and everything was clear, we couldn't really we couldn't get the reservations on, we couldn't get our pick on where we wanted to stay, which resort we wanted to stay in. So, but we did end up staying in Boho Shores again. Very, very nice place. There are a few other locations there that I want you to kind of come in and chime in on a little bit later and share with you guys. Hopefully she'll do that, since I'm cutting the show short for her tonight. And I forgot what I was gonna say, man. I'm kind of spaced out. I'm a little distracted. But we had a great time. I will say the few things I missed about Korea. For one, as I mentioned before, was the internet. We were on, one thing I didn't miss was living on multiple floors and living on top of each other, because since of course it's an island, the way they live out there, they're not all crammed on, it's kind of still in a cut, still a little country, so they're not crammed on top of each other. Even in Tagbilaran, they weren't crammed that much on top of each other as they are here in Seoul, where they're building 30 floors up these days. They were just you wouldn't see a building that was more than 5 stories anywhere, no matter where you went. And one thing that was great is that when you're on the ground floor, when everybody's on the ground floor, you're running around and you don't have to worry about disturbing your downstairs neighbors, especially if you have a heavy child, a heavy 7-year-old. And so I was happy to be in that setting, and it was nice. It was pools. There was a pool around. It had personal pools in front of one of the places we stayed in. And then the first place we stayed in, it had this roundabout pool for the whole resort. Again, guys, check out the photos on the Seoulweaver Facebook page, or Facebook group, because I'm gonna be sure to share them there. But we had a great time. I highly recommend it. Boho Shores, they were nice people. The only drawback, and I hope I'm not offending anybody from the Philippines when I say this, but the only drawback was really in our experience was the food. We kept striking out wherever we chose to eat. And that was kind of one of the big things that my wife wanted to have experience while she was there. I wanted to see what Philippine food is like. So she asked our first driver. We got in and we landed at the airport. In my head, it looked like every first scene from a Taken movie, or a movie where somebody goes missing in a foreign country, because everything looked so foreign to me. There's no taxis. Everybody's riding around in these tricycles, these basically motorbikes with a makeshift side vehicle with a third wheel on it, and everybody's riding those around, and that's basically what people are using to get around as a taxi service. And after a while, I got used to it. But at first, the first encounter was just I don't trust any of these guys. I don't want to ride. No, nobody has a van. And then when somebody finally pulled up in the van, it was just man, looks kind of shady, man. I think I want to get just a little nervous from being in a foreign country and being completely foreign to everything around me. So, but anyway, we got in. Guys, the driver's name was Ray, real nice guy, and we asked Ray hey, where are your good restaurants? What district has the good restaurants, because we want to come back to Tagbilaran and eat at a nice restaurant. And Ray was like, "Yeah, man, we got McDonald's, we got Jollibee." And we were just like, "What? Wait, that's your go-to answer for a good restaurant?" And so we panicked a little bit there. We were a little worried. And the food. So when we got to the hotel, when we got to the resort, the food was not bad, but just nothing tastes as good as it looked. Like everything was like a mirage. Like they brought me this huge burger one day, a huge bacon burger. It was this big, man. Had a slice into it. The side, the cuts, was this cross, the cross cut or whatever it is of it looked beautiful and it was juicy and everything. Like just there, I was just like, oh man, it's gonna be so good. And I bit into it, and it just tastes like a mirage. It was just this letdown. Like, I mean, it was what I bit into that burger, and I jumped on Facebook, and from the things that I could see on Facebook, because I couldn't scroll all the way down, that burger experience was the same as what people were explaining their Last Jedi experience. Like it looked like it was supposed to be. It looked like it had everything that it was supposed to have. But then when I bit into it, it was like, nah, it's not working. So yeah, it was like, where did I lose it? I'm not paying attention to you. So yeah, that was kind of the experience with like in the first 4 days. That was my experience everywhere I ate. And then one day, finally, we ended up at a place that people were recommending to us that we just weren't comfortable enough to just kind of walk around and find. And that was a place called the Bee Farm. And the Bee Farm was nice. It was like, when we got there, it was finally like, okay, this is a nice restaurant. They had it set up where there weren't flies flying all over the place. When you sit down and eat, it was right there on beachfront, kind of like this beachfront restaurant that you just sit there and you're sitting and eating on the beach, on the top of a cliff, of course. But yeah, on the beach, just the same. And it was a great experience. But the food was good, but it was just like good. Like it wasn't immaculate. It wasn't great. It wasn't like, oh, this is so good, I'm coming back here. It was like, okay, this is good. This is where we should. If we have to eat anywhere else, I'm gonna eat here because this is actually good food. And then the last place we ate at was actually very good. We actually were on the way out. We had all our bags. We were getting ready to fly out on our last day there, and we stopped at a place called the Shrimp Farm or the Prawn Farm. It was actually in the our Island City Mall there, and it was a good restaurant. The first place we sat down, we actually started to get the buffet. Didn't look very appetizing, so we said, okay, can we order from the menu? We ordered from the menu. Food came out. It was good. Like, it was actually good. But then we got food poisoning. I don't know if we got food poisoning, but we had reactions to that meal. So it was pretty yeah, it was the food part of the experience was probably the biggest, it wasn't completely disappointing, but it was somewhat is the only really drawback to the trip. Like, when I got back here, I couldn't wait to just go out and eat food here in Seoul. So yeah, I mean, it's an experience I would recommend to everyone. Like, if you get a chance, go travel, because you'll make memories, you'll have a great time, and hopefully you'll have a great time. But you'll regret things that you did. That people always say, when you, not just when you die, like when you leave Korea. I remember when I left Korea the first time, there were so many things I regretted, and not traveling while I was here was one of them. So highly recommend that to people who are out there, because it's very, very easy. I'm going to get with Uni and kind of look at where she actually went and found. We never heard of Behold before she planned this trip out. She went on Korean vlog sites or blog sites and found out where people were vacationing, and then kind of picked and choose where she wanted to go, and we landed on Behold. But we had a lot of limitations, because we had Uni's mom is 70-something years old, so she wasn't going to be doing too much walking. So we didn't want to go to the mountains. We didn't want to go too far. Like, didn't want to go into the city where we're going to be like using public transportation and walking around the whole time. And so the islands, like like an island where we can kind of chill at a resort, turned out to be the best option, and we did again have a great time. There's actually a roundup post that I'm gonna share in here when I go back and update the description of this video. It's from the Arrival store, and the Arrival store, I actually have previous experiences with them, because we were gonna link up for something, but I was on vacation when it happened, and was getting Uni's citizenship straight. But they have a recommendation of 4 places that you should visit while you're here in Korea. It's Vietnam, Bali, Siem Reap. I don't even know if I'm saying that right, and Kathmandu. And so I'm going to share that link in the description because they kind of have a write up on those 4 places. I don't know if they fall into the 4-hour flight radius that I mentioned earlier, but I mean, they're all places. I mean, every time I read them, except for, with Bali, I saw something about death for drug trafficking that kind of scared me off. But I don't plan on trafficking any drugs, so why am I even scared of that? In any case, those are all places that I want to visit, particularly Vietnam. And so we're gonna start planning things out to where we can take a trip every year for the next couple of years that we're here. Hopefully that's a while. So that's all I'm gonna do for today, guys. I gotta go and run and pick up Uni. I'm gonna do another episode tomorrow with everything that I have. Like, I got the whole show planned out, but it's just been interrupted. So I'm gonna jump back on tomorrow, knock out another episode of the show, or like the real episode of the show. I guess this was basically just an update, and kind of go through the current events that we've got a lot to catch up on. Basically, North Korea is like trying to de-escalate. I'm not even gonna get into it now. So we'll talk again about North Korea. We'll talk a little bit about some interesting things that happened while we were gone or immediately when we came back from Korea. We'll do all that tomorrow, and we'll go into the upcoming events for the weekend because it's New Year's weekend. So we're gonna have to get a few things. We're gonna have to go out there and find a few things. In addition to like stuff like the fireworks show at Lotte World Tower. So I'll get with you guys about that tomorrow. Probably gonna do that in the middle of the day. Not sure, but I'll see you then. Thanks so much for tuning in. I will be back with you soon. My apologies again for the delay and the mix up and getting everything planned out today. And apologies for the rust. I gotta shake some of this rust off, man. I feel like I'm like I don't even feel like I'm really. I didn't even have to go in and actually produce the show myself this time. So I guess that the rust kind of just is only with my communication skills. I don't know. It'll come back to me later. I will see you guys tomorrow. I just realized that I said I might do that tonight. I don't think that's going to happen. Tomorrow. See you guys tomorrow. Have a good one.